Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Top 100 as of 2025. Today we're doing 70 through 61. Mostly some pretty light games here. One extremely heavy game. So, without any further ado, let's get to it. Number 70 is Lost Cities Roll and Write. This is not a super popular game. It is based on the super popular Lost Cities, which you might hear about later. Lost Cities Roll and Write is a very simple roll and write where all you're trying to do basically is get to the top of these little paths. So there is certainly some lost citizens to it because when you start a new one, you're going to be losing points until you get kind of up above this line, and the game might end sooner than you like. There is actually player interaction in this, despite being like a little simple roll and write. In that you're trying to be the first one to cross these little bridges and get bonus 20 points. And what other people do could also indicate when the game ends. So I really like that a lot. That is number 70, Lost Cities Roll and Write. That was 59 last year, roughly the same. Number 69 is the only deck builder for today, and it is the solo game Friday. This is probably my highest solo only game. No, it's not. No, there's one higher. I forgot that's new this year. Spoilers. Yeah, in Friday, you are playing as Friday from Robinson Crusoe, and basically the idea is Robinson Crusoe has crash landed on the island, and he's very dumb, and you are trying to help him get past all of these different monsters and like problems that he's facing. But it is a deck builder in that when you beat one of these things. So here, for example, where's a good one here? So we got wild animals. So if you manage to beat the wild animals, which the game's played over 3 rounds, the green, then the yellow, then the red, they're very tough to beat. But when you do, you then get to flip over the card and add this one to the deck. And this is amazing. It's experience. It's 3 health and it lets you draw another card. That's fantastic. Really interesting, fairly difficult. I haven't played it in a while, but I really should more often. This used to be, it was the first solo only game that I ever bought. So it used to be my go-to, just like, let me play a quick solo game, like with a glass of whiskey. Really good game still. I need to play it more often. That is Friday. Number 68 was 53 last year, and this is an absurd game called Rail Pass. I looked it up recently, and this is, I think, the game on my top 100 that is rated the lowest on Board Game Geek, which is a cry and shame. This game is amazing. This is a cooperative dexterity game where you start out with you have your own little station, and you might be like, I want all of the green cubes. And so people have to pass them to you, and they have to pass them on these little trains and do it while saying doot doot as you pass it, which is great and required. You must. If the train falls or spills some of the cubes, they're lost forever. If you drop a train, oh my gosh, the train is lost forever. There's also these the little engine conductors, which if they get too far away from their home, they will resign in disgust. The whole game takes 10 minutes, and it is real time in that you hit the button, you have 10 minutes. At the end of that 10 minutes, if everyone's stuff is in the right spot, you win. It is a game that's very possible to win, but it's so much fun. That's Rift Force. Number 66 was 32 last year. It bounces around the list a lot. And this is Lost Cities, which I just mentioned, because it's the original game that Lost Cities Roll and Write is based on. There's a lot of different games that are based on this because this is just one of the best hand management, mathy card. I keep on just saying card. Mathy, like you're trying to play out all of these different things in the right order and you just can't do it. And then you're trying to discard cards, maybe save them for later, maybe not. But then your opponent can draw them. And so you're like, well, I don't want to discard this number 3 green card because they're going to be building up the green expedition. So I can't do that. Really drives you crazy. Shout out to Lishko, who I played this with for the first time many years ago while we were doing study abroad in Austria. 20 years ago. Gosh. Yeah, it's still great. One of the best 2-player only games. that's Lost Cities. Moving on to number 65. No, am I skipping one? Oh, Lost Cities was 66. I skipped over 67. This is the professionalism you should come to expect on this channel. Number 67 is Rift Force. It was 66 last year. That's fun. Right around the same thing. Rift Force. This is Radlands. This is not Rift Force. I grabbed the wrong game. So this is not Rift Force. This is really the professionalism you can come to expect on this game, on this channel. I have it upstairs, but here's the thing. I was getting up earlier than my wife, and I wanted her to keep sleeping, so I'm like, I'm going to grab games that I need from my closet, because I keep all my two-player games up in my closet. And I was like, okay, Rift Force. And I just grabbed the first two-player game that starts with an R. Radlands is not Rift Force. I'll push that away. Rift Force is a lane battling game where you're playing and you kind of draft these different elementals. It's one of those games that has a lot more depth and complication, just meaning that like you have a lot of strategies available to you, a lot of things to consider as you're playing, but the basic rules are really pretty simple. Big fan of it. That's Rift Force. I'm not a big enough fan that I remember to like both say it in the list and to get the right game. So my apologies to Rift Force. It doesn't care. It's a game. It doesn't know what I'm saying. It also can't hear me because it's upstairs. Number 65 is St. Petersburg. This has been on the list since I started doing this in 2020. One of the ugliest games probably on the list. I think it's kind of charming, but people always complain about it. This is actually like one of the better pieces of art in the game, I would say. Some of them are pretty bad. This game, it's hard to teach this game because there's a real there's a real weirdness to the economy that's works super well, but it's not intuitive at all. Once you get it though, it's amazing, and you're trying to manipulate like when more cards are coming out, which cards you can buy, and then there's like there's 4 different phases, but you only get the income from your various cards at the end of the phase in which you get them. Yeah, there's a lot of depth to this game and not a lot of complexity, like Rift Force. I should play this game more often, but it's hard to get to the table. One of the reasons just being the aesthetics. There is a second edition that people say is more ugly, so that's fun. But yeah, number 65, St. Petersburg. Highly recommend it. Ask me to play sometime if you're interested. Number 64 was 25 last year, so it's fallen a bit, and I know why. And I'm going to throw shade on the person that it is, maybe without saying their name. It's Hanabi. I haven't played Hanabi a lot lately. Hanabi is one of my favorite games, obviously, it's on the list. One of my favorite cooperative games. I have this whole thing where I talk about I don't like co-op games, which is kind of true. I like co-op games if there is some sort of barrier to communication. And in Hanabi, it's all about communication in that your hand of cards, you have to hold out away from yourself. So you're going to have 4 cards and you hold them out like here, but you can't look at them. And then people will give you clues and they'll be like, these 2 are green. That's probably not true. That would have been amazing if I guessed that. They might be like, these 2 are yellow. And then I've got some memory to do too. I can move around like, oh, okay, got to remember, these 2 are yellow. This is a game where there is this sort of like skill to it and these conventions, meaning that like there are certain rules you should follow when giving clues to people. Like, don't give them a clue about a card they can discard. Just let them discard it naturally. If you're telling them this is a 3 and there's a couple of 2s on the table, they should know it's a 3 that they can play. People, especially Amy, tend to get mad at people if they don't know the conventions or if they don't figure them out. And you know what? That's totally fair. I used to think that wasn't fair. And then I played this game recently with one of my friends and his kids. Not throwing shade on anyone, Bob. And they didn't know the conventions, and oh boy, my skin crawled, which might be why it's dropped. And it's just, but it's like this kind of elitist thing too, which does make me feel a little bit bad. It's like, oh, you don't know how to play the unwritten rules to Hanabi, like the Starbucks secret menu. But what can I say? I'm an elitist. So that's number 64, Hanabi. Number 63, back when I first did the list, it was number 12. So it's certainly fallen a little bit, but still a great game. And this is Seven Wonders. Seven Wonders is the drafting game, just meaning that like it wouldn't be the first one I would teach people. That would be Sushi Go. But like this, if I think of a drafting game, this is the first one that comes into mind. Um, the theme is kind of like your ancient civilizations, and you're trying to build your wonder and build up your economy and get the cards that give you points. Um, one thing I found out about this game over the years, I used to think that this was a good intro level game, a good game to teach people who are not super into gaming. I've since realized it's just not. For whatever reason, I think it's probably just the amount of iconography. They don't quite get it. Also, the economy works a little bit in a weird way in that you're like you have the capability to build this. So, like if this card costs 2 brick and you have 2 brick, great, you can play it for free, but you don't spend the brick. It's still in your economy. Um, so yeah, I highly recommend against using this as an intro level game. But also, this is a game that like I have played a 7-player game of this in 15 minutes. Because if everybody knows what they're doing, it goes ba 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 real fast. Ba, 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 ba. Yeah, truly like a classic and one of the great games. That's number 63, Seven Wonders. Number 62 bounces around the list a bit. It was 38 last year. Actually, the last 3 times it's been 38, 39, 41. So it's fallen a little bit, and that's just because I haven't played it. It's Root. This is the second most complicated game on my top 100, I would say. Most complicated one is coming up in a bit. This is also it's also a game I have like almost all the expansions for. I think all of them except for one of the Clockwork expansions. Um, this is the asymmetric game, meaning that each player works in a very, very different way. They share some rules, but it's based on a system called the coin system, the counterinsurgency system, in that like different factions have different goals that they are trying to do. Now everybody's trying to get to 30 points, but you can win in alternate ways by getting these dominance cards. The dominance cards. But the way in which you get to 30 points is very different. You have some factions that are very just like militaristic and warlike. The Rats, the Lord of the Hundreds, my favorite. They're very militaristic. I also like the Lizards who want their guys to die. They're very tricky to play. But then there's also, you can play the Vagabond who's just like his own guy and he's doing his own thing. And he can play very peaceful. He can make friends with the other factions. Or you can play the Vagabond the way that I do, which is very nasty. Yeah, the Otters, which the Otters are so hard to play as, but the Otters are doing trade. They're commerce. They're like the merchants of the woodlands. Love the game, love all the factions, so I still haven't played the Crows. And then there's 3 new factions coming out soon, and we backed the Kickstarter for that, so we're going to get that. That's the Bats and the Frogs and like the Skunks, which are a new kind of take on the Vagabond. It's really interesting. There's already like 8 factions, I think, and such a good game. That's Root. Also, the art's so good. It's just so good. You can't let the game go by without seeing it. Finally for today, number 61 was 62 last year. This is rolling right. This is On Tour. In On Tour, you have a map of the US or Europe, depending on which version that you're playing. And you are basically writing numbers on this map and trying to let your numbers go in ascending order, like along the lines, which are just like the state borders. This game is one of those games. This is my perfect example for a game where you make a lot of plans and then everything falls apart and you try to salvage what happened. I really love that. Some people find it very stressful. And I get that, but like it's fun. It's stressful in a fun way, board games. So yeah, that's On Tour, number 61. Fantastic game, plays well with up to 8. You can even play with more if you have more boards, but the base box here comes with 8, and that's great. Rhymed. Thanks for watching. I realize it's the end of February, and I'm not even halfway, but, I'll do what I can. Things are busy. What can I say? Stay tuned, I guess, for the next ones. Thanks, guys. Bye.